Okay, so what I'm going to talk about is learning by doing, specifically about entrepreneurship. A little bit of background about myself. My name, as was mentioned by Maria. Maria is, by the way, my bachelor's student here at SSC, so thank you, Maria, for inviting me. My name is Juris Ulmanis, and I have lived in Latvia now for about 20 years. I was born and raised in New York City, grew up in the Bronx. Yeah, so I'm a real street kid, street tough, as you can see. And went to university in the United States, University of Connecticut, and a school called Thunderbird, or the American Graduate School of International Management. It's a big international school, quite popular, famous. I was very fortunate in that I spent my career, most of my career, at a big company that is now no longer really exists, called Motorola. Has anybody ever heard of Motorola? Yeah, okay, they split up. Google bought part of it, and somebody else bought part of the other part of Motorola. But this experience, I worked at Motorola for about 17, 18 years, and this was a wonderful experience for me, because now that I look back at my Motorola experience, I really see that there was, I guess another buzzword is entrepreneurship, where within the company there was lots of entrepreneurship going on. Motorola was really a big, dominant player in telecommunications for many, many years. We were, at one time, before Nokia overcame Motorola, the biggest cellular manufacturer in the world. We invented the cellular telephone. We invented many, many different things. We also sold radio systems, and that was my specialty. Selling big radio systems like the police use, the army uses. If you see old movies about the Second World War, the walkie-talkie, yeah, the big walkie-talkie, these are all Motorola products. Yeah, so Motorola was a very, dominant company in the world. Motorola also was became very global. Before this word globalization also became popular, Motorola was very proud that we were in many different countries throughout the world. And I remember at one meeting where one of the big executives said, well, imagine we can now, here in Schaumburg, Illinois, we can send an email to Singapore, and it's the daytime here in Schaumburg, Illinois, and as we send the email to Singapore, they will be working on this product during the night, and they will send back the results. And at that time, I would say it was about 15 years ago, that was a big deal, to be able to communicate like this and send information back and forth. Now, of course, it seems ridiculous because we do it all the time, in real time. Okay? So, maybe I apologize for talking about myself so much, but I think it's important because it leads up to the story about learning by doing. So I worked at Motorola in the United States many years, and then when the Berlin Wall came down, I wanted to work in Eastern Europe. So they sent me to Germany, and I was responsible for Hungary and Czechoslovakia. It was still Czechoslovakia at the time. And that was a great experience because I saw how post-Soviet countries worked. And then they offered me a job here in the Baltics. They said, you can, because of your Latvian background, we would like you to come to the Baltics and start developing the business for Motorola. So literally, I don't know if you all remember the first cellular telephones, the big ones, the NMT 450, the big ones. Yeah, so I was here, I had an NMT 450 in one hand, my little attaché case in the other hand, and I was walking around trying to figure out what, here in Latvia and Estonia and Lithuania, how to do business. What is it that I need to do? What does Motorola need to do to sell something? Okay, and our clients, or our customers, were mostly government institutions like Ministry of Interior, Ministry of Defense. Of course, nobody had any money at the time. Yeah, the governments didn't have any money, so we had to figure out how to finance these big projects. And so I was doing that for a long time. So I really developed a wonderful network here in the Baltics of customers, of government agencies, of distributors. I had to set up distributors. So it was really pure business development, and that was a lot of fun. That was great. Now, it was so much fun here that Motorola wanted to send me back to the U.S. because, you know, it's like if you're in the diplomatic corps, you have to rotate, yeah, and it's actually a good thing. It's correct, yeah, because I was becoming too comfortable here. I was kind of I was kind of a king here. You know, my bosses were away. I could do anything I want. It was good. I had a good deal, and I had a Western salary. You know, so it was wonderful. You know, and this kind of goes back to a little bit philosophy. You know, when you get older, you're supposed to things should get better. It worked for me completely opposite. When I was young, now I don't make any money. So anyway, that's a different story. So they wanted me to go back to the U.S. and I didn't want to. So I left Motorola and I started doing many different things. And one of the things that I started doing is teaching. And I started in Riga Business School, teaching in the MBA program, because what I found out also, and please, those of you who teach, please don't take this incorrectly or negatively. Most teachers here don't have any work experience, professors, most, yeah? And I think that's really bad, and it's a big problem. Because how can you teach something if you don't know what you're talking about, if you haven't really gone through the mud and through the trenches, okay? I, on the other hand, had the experience, but perhaps I don't have the pedagogical talent or skills to do it. But I'm trying to learn this over the years. So anyway, I think that was a positive thing, and I started teaching from my experience. And I started teaching things like marketing and leadership and sales and jumped into other peripheral subjects. But one of the things that now somehow came into my lap is this idea of entrepreneurship. And I must mention, and it's important because we have wonderful Karen Wilson in the back. And Karen Wilson... well, you will meet her in the afternoon because she will be running a bunch of sessions. Karen Wilson and her colleague Bert Twalhofen, yeah, I mispronounced, a wonderful Dutch gentleman who is 83 years old or 85 years old. Serial entrepreneur. They literally changed my life because into my lap fell an opportunity to go to Harvard to learn how to teach, and specifically how to teach using the case method. And about 8 years ago, I had this wonderful opportunity to spend a week at Harvard University, taught by the most wonderful, most prestigious professors in the world about how to teach entrepreneurship. And this is part of what's called the EFER program, a European Foundation of Entrepreneurial Research. And this is a wonderful program with many alumni, and Karen has pulled out, yes. And this is and we didn't plan, yes. So please talk to Karen, because why this changed my life is because I saw how it's supposed to be done. I saw how teaching and learning is supposed to be done. I was sitting where you were. I was absorbing the cases. I had to read 3, 4, 5 cases every night. And I had to be in class the next morning, and I had to know what's going on, participate in class while these wonderful professors, and I can tell you I was scared many times because they're tough, and not in a bad way, in a negative way, but they provoke, and when you get provoked, you learn, because you have to think, and you have to substantiate your answers, and when you say yes, they say no, and so this facilitates the learning process. So I became a really big fan of the case method, which I initiated in my classes, and of course There's when you start doing something new, there's a lot of resistance. A lot of resistance. Whoa! How can we have so much homework? How can we have so much participation in class? Oh, where's the theory? Where's the textbooks? And of course, this is all the old-fashioned, old school that doesn't work. Okay, you see the statistics about Latvia, why we're always on the bottom of the list. I mean, to me, it's evident. Part of it is the education system and the way that we learn. Anyway, sorry, I can go into this. This is one of my big hot topics. But, okay. So learning by doing, I think this is important. And there's a number of ways of learning by doing. So, as in Harvard, they explain to us, the problem is not what to teach, but it's how to teach it, or how to learn, right? Would you agree? Yeah. We have material all over the place. We have cases, we have textbooks, we have guest speakers, we have, you name it, we have it. But how to use it for students to be engaged, for them to want to learn. Okay, it's not easy. It's not easy at all. And especially entrepreneurship, where it is so hands-on. I mean, how can you teach entrepreneurship in class? Yeah, or people write business plans, right? And we know what is very popular now, this lean startup, right? And this business canvas model. Everybody is using the business canvas model, and there's nothing else in the world, and and that's great. But okay, in about 5 years, something else will come up that will be the new hot thing, guaranteed, right? So writing business plans, and what is the problem with business plans?
They're imaginatory.
So,
it's an imagination.
Yeah, it's imagination. You never know. If you talk to Bert Twalhofen, who's 85 years old, who's had I don't know how many, 52 startups, right? He says that a business will not be able to, it takes 5 years, if you're lucky, for a business to start earning money. 5 years. And he's read hundreds, if not thousands of business plans, because they're not realistic. They're not real, especially with students. And if you have inexperienced professors who have no experience, giving projects for business plans, I mean, what could the result possibly be? I mean, it's obvious. The result is like we're just fooling ourselves, right? We're fooling ourselves, unfortunately. We're fooling ourselves, we're fooling the students, professors are fooling themselves, and it's a big mess. Okay? So, but anyway, I don't want to give you like the answer, but one of the things that one alternative, or one thing that I came up with together with a Canadian professor, we started looking at ways to learn entrepreneurship. One very nice way is cases, but if we look at cases also, what is the problem with cases? A potential problem?
We can create similar open factors.
Yeah.
Case is unique. Every time you have something different.
Yeah. Yeah, something is different, and there's really no right answer, and you don't really get immediate feedback. You get the professor's feedback, yeah? And again, if the professor is not experienced, for example, I can speak about myself. I teach cases about China sometimes, I've never been to China, and it's... So I'm an idiot, basically. But the students are looking there. Oh, he's so smart. But and I'm being very honest with you because we're colleagues, right? But how can that be? But the course requires me to teach something about China. Okay, but of course the university won't send me to China to learn because they have no money. Yeah, but I have to teach it, so it doesn't make any sense. Anyway. So a Canadian professor colleague of mine, Dr. James Bowen, he has experience, 20 years, he ran an IT company in Canada, very successful, sold out, made a lot of money, and did some other things and made a lot of money. We got together and said, hey, there's something called gamification that's going on in the world. Have you heard of this thing, gamification? Yeah, okay, that's kind of a hot topic, and if you go, and I would recommend it, go into Coursera. Yeah, Coursera. And there is a wonderful professor from Wharton, University of Pennsylvania, Wharton. His name is Ken Werbach. Yeah, and there's a course in gamification. It's very, very interesting, and that is one thing that kind of we looked at and said, hey, this kind of makes sense, because video games and students like games, and we learn by going from a basic level to a higher level. Once we get to understand one level, we can jump higher, higher, higher. And this is what gamification is all about. So we said, why can't we do something with this idea about levels and learning? And we started investigating something called simulations in games. Yeah, and we looked into that, and then we said, well, entrepreneurship, business plans, cases, maybe there's something there. So to make another long story short, we developed a game in entrepreneurship that we call Traction. And I can start talking about that now. And I think I already answered the question on what is a simulation. Well, okay, I'll get back to that. So let's talk again a couple of minutes. What is a simulation? Then I want to talk about this traction. And again, it is a little bit like an advertisement about this product that we've developed, so forgive me about that. Then I'd like to talk about, for you professors, what are things that students like about it, and also what is a benefit to professors, and also some things about the course. If you were to teach an entrepreneur course, how would a simulation fit into your course? And also then, of course, some conclusions and questions. So let's begin. So what is a simulation? Here is a definition, but when I say simulation game, what do you think about? Fun. Yeah, okay. Yeah, gamification is... It's...
Simulation is not real station.
Mm-hmm.
You lose.
Mm-hmm.
But in business, risk, you're losing risk is very small. And totally, you can lose, and you can lose many times. It's why it's a big problem with gamification. Because every time you create many simulations, you know you can,
Mm-hmm.
but if some critical stations you cannot.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, your risk and your result
Mm-hmm.
is different
Mm-hmm.
from simulation.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, simulation is not real, but although if you were a pilot in an airplane, you train by using simulations. Yeah, you or an astronaut. They put you in a capsule and then you simulate what it's like to be in space. So it's not real, but you can kind of catch some things that could possibly happen if it was real life. So what is a simulation?